Thank you all for joining. Good morning. And the idea of this organized session is to focus on Horizon 2020 shared learning and innovative solutions for improving show food supply chains. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Barbara Tocco. I am Senior Research Associate at the Newcastle University and Project Manager on Strength2Food. So one of the key thematic areas of our project is in relation to show food supply chains. We know that show food supply chains have gained significant prominence in the EU policy debates and more generally at the international level as an emerging competitive strategy in comparison to more conventional food systems to try and achieve sustainability objectives and enhance inclusion of producers, especially small scale. The empirical evidence suggests that show food supply chains may face various critical factors. So for us, it's really critical to try and understand how can we capitalize on the opportunities, how can we ensure that we achieve their potential in improving the sustainability and resilience of the agri-food systems. And really establishing sound good practices, improving value food chain dynamics, fostering stakeholder collaborations, and ensuring more coordinated and smarter solution is really a key priority for both policy and practice community, and is one of the emphases within the Horizon 2020 framework. So this session aims to bring together our collective evidence to support practice, drive innovation, and stimulate cooperation and knowledge exchange. We've selected here 5 sister projects which have received funding under Horizon 2020 and which have inspired us, have worked alongside us during the course of the project. And these, I'm very glad to announce these are Skin, Smart Chain, Fox, Valumix, and Robust. So the outline of this session will be a lightning talk. So we'll have 5 lightning talks led by our guest speakers who will showcase insights, best practices, innovative solutions from the respective projects. If time allows, we'll have some quick time for Q&A. So you'll find here their picture, their project name, and feel free to connect with them directly via the networking function. So these are their project details. So I will then open the floor. So welcome to Francisco Javier Casado, who will present on behalf of the Smart Chain project.
Thank you very much, Barbara. So thank you for the kind invitation and congratulations for the organization of this really interesting event. My name is Javier Casado and I'm working at the University of Guggenheim as a part of the coordination team of the Smart Chain project. The project wants to support collaborative shared food supply chain through a specific action and recommendation on introducing a new business model and also innovative practical solutions. We are following a multi-actor approach with 43 partners, and the key partner, you can see in the middle, 18 representative shared food supply chain from 9 different countries, including all kinds of shared food supply chain initiative and different kinds of food products. The project established 9 innovative collaboration hubs that was in 9 different countries. The main task of these hubs, it was facilitate the data acquisition from our 18 case studies. As you can imagine, the language barrier, it was necessary to do all the questionnaire, all the interview with the case studies of shared food supply chain in the national language. So for that reason, the innovation hub were really, really essential in our project. At the same time, they have also a really important task regarding to the national dissemination of the project in the different countries, the organization of different multi-stakeholder workshops, and also to engage national stakeholders. So here you have the starting point of the project. It was a multi-perspective analysis of our 18 different representative shared supply chain from different perspectives. You can see here technical and non-technological innovation, social innovation, food-related consumer perception, integrative sustainability assessment. This includes environmental, social, and economic, and also business and policy recommendation. This questionnaire were prepared for our research partner, and the questionnaire went done through the hub manager with the corresponding 2 case studies of shared food supply chain. The project had already implemented a lot of tasks, like, for example, identification of typical problem and need of short food supply chain. We already also collect and analyze existing innovative solution, applicable solution for this problem. We also define a new social innovation for short food supply chain. We identify the main reason for buying product from short food supply chain and also the main obstacle. We also carry out the environmental and socioeconomic assessment of 6 selected short food supply chain within the consortium. We are now working in the legal and policy recommendation and so on. As impossible for me to present even an overview of the result on best practice and solution, I'm going to show you where you can find all the information regarding to the Smart Chain project. This is, we have a typical website project website, but we have also this online tool. This is a Smart Chain platform. Here you can find detailed information about our hub and also our case studies, short food supply chains. We have different databases. The most relevant is inventory, innovation inventory. We here collect more than 150 innovative solutions, applicable solutions for short food supply chain, technological innovation, for marketing, for business, etc. Here you can see one example with the summary, the explanation of the innovation, and also the contact information. We have also the resource publication section with different kind of leaflet, one-pager, with a summary of our result and highlight the main finding and recommendation. We have also article, all the public deliverables from the project, and also summary of the result in PowerPoint presentation, and also some dissemination material. This last is a collaboration between Smart Chain and Strength2Food. We have also one training session. In this training session, you will find a PowerPoint presentation with a summary of all the different work packets. We use this presentation during the different multi-stakeholder workshop carried out by the hub manager. We will organize in total 18 different workshops. And the interesting thing is all the presentations are here available in 9 different languages. Also, next week, it will start an e-learning course, Best Practice in Innovation for Supply Chain. So I really recommend you, I invite you to register and to take care of, to carry out this really interesting e-learning course. One important thing regarding to the Smart Chain Innovation Platform, as the project will be finalizing in August this year, we are lucky enough to ensure the sustainability of the innovation platform, because 5 different Horizon 2020, new Horizon 2020 projects, Fed Chain, Cofresh, Plutos, Food-Aras, Allowing Food, they're going to ensure the maintenance of the platform, feeding with new result on funding and innovation for this project. So from the 1st of September, the innovation platform, it will be no longer focused only in short food supply chain, it will be value chain in general. To finalize, I would like to highlight now we are working together with UFIC in a Smart Chain booklet where we are going to try to summarize. I know it's really difficult, but to prepare a digital document with the result of the result and funding and recommendation for the different work packet. And we will have our final event. It will be 6th of July. We will start soon the promotion in the social media. So you are for sure more than welcome and invited. And to finalize how to be involved in the project, you can register in the innovation platform. You can also join the Short Food Supply EU community. This is a LinkedIn community started for the Smart Chain and now in collaboration with Strength2Food. And also you can follow in the social media with the Twitter, LinkedIn, and also YouTube. Thank you very much. And I can ensure that all these pictures are for the pre-COVID area of the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Javier. And encourage everybody to join the Short Food Supply Chain community on LinkedIn. So we'll move to Dr. Tessa Avermaete from the Fox project.
So I'm from the University of Leuven, from the Division of Bioeconomics, and I want to first thank you, Barbara, for giving the opportunity to present here Fox. I will be really brief, and it may sound like a very simple project and being so brief, but it's a complex project with many interlinkages, etc. But for the sake of these 4 minutes, I thought I'd keep it very, very brief. I want to notice that my work package co-partner Björn Moller is also in the room. So if you have questions, you can also approach him. Fox is a multi-actor project. We have academic, non-academic partners. We started in June 2019, and we are spread all around Europe. and it's about food processing in a box. And I think the easiest way to explain this project is with this nice infographic from UFIC. So it's all about fruit and vegetables in a local community. And you see here, you bring these fruit and vegetables, or you produce them, and you bring them to a mobile unit. And in this mobile unit, they are processed, it's mild processing, and what comes out might be like dried apples, or a juice, or a soup, or cut melon, or cut cucumber. And then once you have this project, we sell them, but we don't sell them just anywhere. The purpose is to sell them on the local market. So it's a local community setting. What are the two value propositions that we put forward with this project? It's about health and sustainability, and it's about building transparency and trust in a community. So consumers know where their food comes from. We are focusing on Europe, but specifically on 6 regions, and we are looking into 4 technologies. I'm not going into depth on the technologies, but you see here that for each of the technology that we will use, and as I say, it's about drying, it's about making juice, soup, or packaging, we selected a specific region in which we will really go into dialogue with local consumers, local producers, and we will really test out also the dialogue. There will be an app developed where consumers and producers are connected, so they can really build trust, and we can really try these things out. Now, this was about business model development for these technologies and for these food processing and on-farm sales. And this is the concept that we use, so the business model canvas, which contains 9 models, and we can apply them specifically for the technologies that we are developing with technology partners in the FOX project. But as you can imagine, food processing, fruit and vegetable processing, and on-farm sales, there are already many very good examples out there in Europe. And we already start this dialogue. We're not going to wait until technologies are there. We're already going into dialogue with farmers, with experts from the auction, with NGOs, with retailers about, what does a business model look like if you focus on-farm processing and on-farm sales. And these are just some pictures, and I like to show here the picture because it's about people behind the processes. What we develop needs to work out there in the field. And these are people that we have been involved with in a workshop in November, where we asked their reflections on the business models for on-farm processing of fruit and vegetables and for on-farm sales. And we are continuing that dialogue because we are not just developing these business models, we are going also to test these business models against potential future scenarios. And there, Björn, my colleague from Fraunhofer, comes in. They're responsible for developing these future scenarios. And they have a workshop, in fact, and that brings me to the last slide. They have a workshop on the 14th of June, an online workshop. And if you are interested in that, you're most welcome to contact us and to join for that workshop. We have a lot of other interaction things out there, events ready, also on-farm events ready to develop these business models further in the FOX project. So, and now I prefer to see you. I stop sharing. Yeah, did I stop sharing? Okay, that's in a nutshell what is FOX about. But if you have any further question, please contact me.
Thank you so much, Tessa. That's really enlightening, and I'm sure that people will start connected. Fedele, shall we try again with you?
Yeah, so I'm Fedele Colantuono from the University of Foggia in Italy. I've been the project manager of the SKIN project, which was an Horizon 2020 project funded by the European Commission to develop a thematic network on short food supply chain. Indeed, SKIN is the acronym of Short Supply Chain Knowledge and Innovation Network. Our goal was to put together all the information, all the experiences from different stakeholders around Europe on the topic of short food supply chain, which is the objective of a thematic network. So a thematic network is a group of people, a multi-actor approach that intends to share different background, different experience from different levels, and strengthen the network among all these actors. We have involved in our project different entities from 7 European countries. We were 21 partners with backgrounds from academics, from farmers, farmers associations, or innovation transfer agencies that were in touch with farmers or with consumers. I'm talking from my experience because we completed the project last year. It was a 3 years project. We started on the 2016, and we have brought together many people during these years thanks to our events and networking activities. The key concepts were basically linked to the importance of the chain, exchange of information, backgrounds, knowledges, good practices, increase and improve the network strength, leading to the importance of proximity intended as relationships and closer contact between the two extremities of the food supply chains, which are farmers and consumers, and putting, of course, an eye on the importance of land use, environmental issues, and respect of the nature. Talking about proximity, which is fitting to this meeting of the importance of strengthening networking and building communities, it's important that consumers and farmers must be put together in the same line in order to build up a common trust. For consumers, it's important to understand the origin, the history of the products in order to appreciate more the qualities of the products. And on the other side, for the farmers, it's important to be closer to the consumer in order to understand the needs, the requirements, and be more also powerful in terms of marketing, in terms of traceability and other aspects that can be involved and improved thanks to the importance of the short food supply chain. We have worked a lot on collecting good practices. We had a repository, like a database. We developed this database, which is accessible from the project website, where there are more than 160 good practices. We started from the countries involved in the project, but then we also collected from other countries. Indeed, we have good practices from 26 countries. These good practices are grouped according to main topics like innovation, like marketing, like ICT solution, like consumers approach, quality, nutritional aspects, and so on. Then we reached the different stakeholders, organizing some workshops that we called thematic innovation workshops. In total, we had 6 workshops around Europe, where we engaged more than 200 participants represented by farmers, experts, stakeholders, policymakers, agencies, in order to share their needs, share solutions, and collect new ideas in order to develop some innovation solution and new projects. We built up, in terms of content, some videos, some articles. Some of them were more from the academic side, others were more for public, written in an easiest way, like more thematic reports or journalistic articles. We reach Twitter to collect people interest also from other social channels like LinkedIn, Facebook, and so on. By the end, we have also developed a series of practice abstracts, which are available on the AP Agri platform. And we have put together different stakeholders in the countries that were involved with developing the so-called regional nodes that were like local hubs where we invited people to get together and discuss about the topic of short food supply chain. This was very helpful in order to strengthen the network and enlarge our community. The final goal of the project was to have a permanent association of stakeholders. We started to work on the community of practice on short food supply chain, collecting adhesion from different stakeholders. And our intent is to pursue this community of practice through a permanent platform available online. Here is an overview of our good practices repository available on our Skin Project website. If you enter some keywords, then you will get a list of different PDF files, which are fact sheets, very simple, with introduction about the good practice, some links from the farms or from the case that we collected. Here is one fact sheet as it looks like. So I invite you to visit this and download the fact sheet that you may be on. These are some pictures from our work. We completed all the networking events and workshops before the COVID-19 pandemic. So we were lucky on this. These are some members of our team. So thanks again for this meeting and attending the presentation. I'm available for the question and answer later. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Fedele. So to the next speaker, thank you, Antonella Samoggia, joining us and talking from Valumix.
Yes. Hi, hello, everybody. So yes, thank you very much for inviting me and in particular the project. I am here as presenting the project of Valumix. Valumix is a project, is an H2020 project. As you see from this slide, it involves 20 participating organizations from 13 countries. We also have representative university from Vietnam and China. The grant is about 6 million euro, and the project ends in September of this year. So we are, towards the end of the project. It is coordinated by the University of Iceland. I know that they're here, so just in case they want to add something, more than welcome. What is the main objective of the project? Is to provide a suite of tools and approaches mainly aimed at enhancing the fairness, integrity, and the resilience of sustainable food value chains. So the focus is about fairness, integrity, and resilience. So that's also the reason why the points of the main issues of the presentation of today. We covered a number of case studies. The concept of case studies in the project of Valumix was a bit different from the ones I've heard so far. We were working mainly on a number of topics. As you see, they were on wheat to bread, dairy cows to milk, beef and steaks, salmon, filet, and tomato to processed tomato. The main topics were about, again, fairness, the governance of these chains, the market power, and the simulation model. So the main difference I think it's important to focus on is that we were not so much developing the short chains, which is the focus of today's presentation, so the ones that just were before me, but it was also to cover a wider area, which were more, let's say, global, or at least more mainstream value chains. So what we have identified in our analysis is that we are facing a food system, agri-food system, which is mostly paralyzed. So what we have covered was an analysis of the main chains, and in addition, an analysis of short chains, in a way which we were seeing as mirroring the big chains, and also by interviewing the consumers, which is one of the activities carried out. So why we talk about paralyzed agri-food system? Well, we have big companies, big agri-food chains, companies, and large retailers, and mostly these the dynamics undergoing currently these larger chains are processors that tend to aggregate into wider aggregative forms, and we will have an example at the end of the presentation. They mostly tend to be vertically integrated or to get contractual relationships within the chains. They tend to be capital intensive, and they are increasingly concentrated in fewer players. These are similar dynamics that also retailers undergo, and data show that the sales that go through retailing, it's increasing throughout Europe and the world. When we talk about retailers, we don't just mention big retailers as one single body, but we also have discount retailers, which are increasingly playing a big role within the agri-food chain dynamics. The other point of the retailers is that they increasingly set standards in terms also of traceability and quality standards. On the other side, we have the small chains. And overall, if we look at the global sales, we still have to keep in mind that the number of sales of food sold through these small chains is still limited compared to the larger sales. Smaller chains are also getting into more structured business models. They are connected with the community, with the local community, and they do have a specific value which is conveyed to the consumer. Thanks or due to the pandemic, these small chains have undergone a kind of transformation, and they have increased their e-commerce, logistics, and opportunities. So how is the consumer behaving within this system? Well, the consumers towards the agri-food companies and large retailers, what they find, so what is the value that the consumers buy when they go to retailers is for sure the low price. It is true that the pricing the retailers are able to convey to the consumers are lower. Consumers rely on retailers in terms of food chain dynamics and in what the kind of practices that are implemented in these chains. Then again, the perception of the consumers is that the farmers are compensated unfairly through these chains, and that's also the reason why they go to the short chains. It is also true that consumers think that processors and retailers should limit their price shares, and they perceive this distance between themselves and the food production as a whole. On the other side, we have the consumers and how they perceive the small chains. We carried out a number of surveys and in particular focus groups. What we have learned is that consumers like to mix, to having both, to buying both in large retailers and small chains. And what they get from small chains is good quality and seasonality. So that's what they perceive. Healthy diet products, so they mainly buy fruit and vegetables. They get a sense of belonging to the local economy and local communities. And also they perceive a higher fairness within these small chains. Then again, what is we have increasingly identified is that the fairness issue is increasingly adopted within the larger retailers. So what we would like to say is that this adaptive system within the chains is, we can't think of small chains and large chains as two independent elements, because from the consumer perspective, they both participate in the way consumers buy and the way food is sold. So for example, the organic, which until about 10, 15 years ago, depending on the different countries, what was mainly something which was characterizing small chains and specialized shops at the retailer level. Now it is increasingly becoming something which you can find, consumers can find everywhere. So both big chains and small chains. The same thing is going through the concept of fairness. So at the moment, consumers still perceive that short chains are fair, but then again, the fairness issue is becoming a key element in the agenda of big retailers. So what the message of the project is that the retailers are increasingly local, and they start conveying short chain values, which is something we as researchers should start thinking about in terms of also of future agenda. So one specific chain that we focused on, as I was saying, is the tomato chain. It's a key product in the Italian economy. Italian tomato, processed tomato, so raw tomato to be processed, Italy produces about 50% of the overall European production. It is located in the north of Italy, in the area that I've mapped in this slide. How is this managed? This is managed through also these aggregating bodies, is the interbranch organizations. In Italy, we have two about the raw tomato to processed tomato. One is the north of Italy. And as is mentioned in the literature, and also a very recent study from the OECD, we are still analyzing the efficacy, the real effectiveness of these POs, so producer organizations, but also IBO, the interbranch organizations. The idea is to balance the power of smaller producers within the overall chain. So what is going on at the moment is that short chains are on the same products, which I think is the most interesting element. Small chains are increasingly selling processed tomato, and they convey the message that processed tomato through these small chains is fair. So the point is that in the labels, they start introducing information regarding the price distribution, for example, the fact that it comes from local producers, that there's no gang mastering, which is one of the most criticized elements, in the larger chains. Even the less developed countries, we have fair trade on tomato at the moment. And overall, it is a fair pricing. So this is the message I would like to leave you with, is let's not see the two dimensions as two independent elements, because they do belong into an adaptive overall food system where both elements play a big role. Many thanks.
Thank you so much, Antonella. That was really, really interesting. And also on the consumer polarization. I mean, as part of Strength2Food, we were also talking about this hybridity and on the danger of really trying to separate long and short and the sort of the good and the bad. So let's move to the next and final speaker, Dan Keach, who will tell us a little bit more from his robust project.
Okay, so rather unlike everybody else who's given a wonderful overview of their projects, I'm going to talk a little bit about a particular local case study in Robust, mainly because Robust isn't principally about food. So I'm going to talk about short food supply chains in public procurement in the county of Gloucestershire, where our university is based. And I just want to highlight that I've been doing this work with Damien May and Matt Reed, but also in the audience is my colleague Bryony Goodwin-Hawkins, who has been working on this too. She now works within NICER, but she worked in the Living Lab next door to Gloucestershire in mid Wales. So do contact her if you want to know more about the work that they've been doing in Wales. Anyway, so in the next slide, what we can quickly see is the overview of the participants in the project. One of the key features of Living Labs, for those of you who are familiar with them, are that they are based on co-production of knowledge and innovation. And in our case, we have these distinctive teams that are researchers working with practitioners, just like some of our colleagues have been talking about this morning already. And here in this picture are the practice partners. In practice, in Robust, they're all municipal authorities. So that's something to bear in mind. The website there is a very good resource, and our communications partners are ICLEI, who are, of course, a local government network. So they're doing a fantastic job of dissemination and gathering resources in together. And as I was saying, Robust isn't principally about food. It examines through these experimental living labs how rural and urban areas are functionally linked through a number of different themes. Food is one of them, but social services and ecosystem services, among others, are also included. And we're trying to develop innovations in governance that create stronger rural-urban synergies. So next slide. The case study that I'm quickly going to race through is from the Gloucestershire Living Lab. And what we've been trying to do there is to increase the level of local food that's flowing into the school meal contract. So you might think that you might imagine that the rural-urban synergy is rather a simplistic one, i.e. that rurally produced food in the county of Gloucestershire in southwest England is flowing into the mainly urban consumption market of the schools in the county. So just to give you some brief background to the story that we can talk about in greater detail outside this session, is that GCC, Gloucestershire County Council, sorry about all the acronyms, I'll explain them as we go through, they have a school meal service that they don't supply themselves. They have a contractor called Caterlink, for those in the UK who know Caterlink, which is a pretty big subnational catering company. But the thing to worry about here is that they're providing 18,500 school meals a day to primary school children in the county. And it's already a very good service, and it conforms to FFL, the Food for Life standard, which is a voluntary catering sector quality mark that was instigated some years ago by the organic third sector organisation, the Soil Association in the UK. And for several years, the Gloucestershire County Council School Catering Service was already at gold standard, which meant it was sourcing some degree of local food, some organic food, included children in setting up menus, all sorts of things. It's dropped down to silver now for some supply chain reasons to do with organic meat. Now, the new contract is important for us because when we're thinking about the governance of these urban-rural relationships, it's the contract for the school meals service that is our governance tool. And we're trying to change the way that it's worded in order to enable this innovation around increased local food provision to happen. And so the study of the localization of food into the school meal service is very well known. Of course, all of you know all about it. It's been very well studied for about 20 years, perhaps. But what's really important for us in this project is this new tech innovation called DPS, the Dynamic Procurement System, which originated in retail. And what happens is that all number of pre-qualified producers who are eligible and who are supported into becoming registered suppliers to the school meal service can have their produce consolidated through this new DPS, Dynamic Procurement System, tech logistics platform. So what happens, I mean, it's a very detailed thing and we don't have time to talk about exactly how it works, but what happens really is that suppliers can simply drop in or drop out of a sort of online supermarket service whereby seasonal food, as and when it becomes available, is listed on a website that is available to school chefs, who are the people buying the food. So it could be that seasonal variation is able to be reflected. It could be that different qualities, such as organic or non-organic, can be included. And these foods are then listed on the online marketplace alongside larger wholesalers who are retained in the school meal system for frozen, bulk or dry goods. So this is not about displacing non-local food with local, it's about increasing the profile of local when it suits the local suppliers and at the price that suits them. So this moves really radically away from the idea of commodity lots, which smaller suppliers can't compete with, into just giving profile to local suppliers in a context that they're able to support. So the last two things are just to say that the timing for us has been excellent. This may not have happened in other times possibly, but we've got two things going on. One is that the CCS, the Crown Commercial Services, they're the government agency in the UK that worries about public sector procurement. They're interested in making sure that small and medium-sized enterprises are much more involved in all sorts of public procurement in the country. And they funded a pilot study in our region, in the Southwest region, for a food hub, which will be a place where the DPS can operate and from which local supplies can be consolidated and delivered. And if the pilot is successful, it will become live in the spring of next year. It will be rolled out in 16 UK regions. So for the first time in a very long time, we've got the prospect of this actually working in practice. And then the other thing there, Equilibrium Markets are the private sector providers that piloted DPS in retail initially, and they now sit on the DEFRA, that's the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, Dynamic Procurement Advisory Board. So this is another lovely alliance between the private sector, the state, and the civil society. So now we can go on to the very last slide. And here's the outcome of our experiment in Gloucestershire. New contract wording is a little bit underwhelming. Let's just read it. The authority, that's the Gloucestershire County Council, the authority is currently working with the Southwest Food Hub, the University of Gloucestershire, and the Royal Agricultural University to increase the use of fresh, seasonal and local products via a robust dynamic purchasing system. And here comes the key wording. The service provider shall work with the authority to further these objectives. So it's a little bit vague, isn't it? But of course, what we learn from our work in Gloucestershire is that they have a very huge responsibility towards feeding all those thousands of pupils daily. Local authorities are rather risk-averse bodies who also have a constrained budget for these sorts of things. And also that the contract is a legally binding document which will be challenged by commercial competitors if the wording is flabby. So what we've just managed to secure is that the service will make sure that these developments that are still in train are going to be contributed to and progressed with the new catering contract provider when the contract is let in July. And that's the end. Thank you very much. Please get in touch if you want to know more.
Great. So thank you so much, Dan, for talking about the Southwest Food Hub. And I know that we have ongoing collaboration as part of NICER with yourself, with Brioni and all the team. So this is definitely like a very exciting project, and we look forward to hear more how things advance. So I think as we are a little bit delayed, I would like to thank hugely our 5 great speakers. So I put in the chat the contacts of with their email addresses and the project details. So do not hesitate to get in touch. The work continues, the collaboration continues. Join the short food supply chain community on LinkedIn and just spread the word. And let's just keep up all the great collaborations within the Horizon 2020